Okay, so now we want to be able to show the rest of our model, and so you should be able to double click. Should be able to click on the plane and double click it, and the rest of the model will show. You gotta kind of move around where you click on it. All right, so there we go. Now I want to move this actual plane now that I'm done with it. I want to move it to another layer. I'm going to put it on the construction layer, which is frozen. And it'll give you a warning, but that way it isn't in our isometric views. Okay, well, I'm going to save, and we're going to do a little different workflow. We're going to do our exploding and our editing here in the model space, and then go to our layout. I think the workflow might be a little better. So we're going to change our current working layer to profile and visible lines if it isn't already. And we're going to freeze the model layer. Now the model should disappear, but we should have our views. Let's work on this front view first. So I'm going to have it go into world first, and then over here we're going to go to front view, and we want to work in the 2D view as we're viewing it. You may want to change to 2D wireframe at this stage, and the hidden line should show up better. Okay, so we're going to type explode. And we're going to pick the entire model, or entire view, and hit enter. And we're going to do LW for line weight. And it's going to be by layer. Okay, so now it should be individual pieces. And we're going to move what's hidden line to the hidden line layer. So we're going to select everything that's dashed. Which should be just those few groupings of lines. Alright, so I'm going to move those from layer 0 to hidden line layer. And then, just for expediency, I'm going to make the hidden lines layer invisible for just a few minutes, so that I can move the rest of this to the profile visible line layer. Okay, so to be consistent, we can now make the hidden line layer visible again by picking on the light bulb. Now we're going to work on the top view. And we're going to go to top. Sorry, we're going to go to world. We're going to go to top. And we should be looking at what's called the top view. And you're going to type explode. And we're going to explode that view. We're going to do line weight by layer. Okay, so now we want to move our hidden lines to the hidden line layer. So let's select our hidden lines. Okay, and once again, for expediency, I'm going to temporarily hide the hidden line layer, and then I'm going to move everything else to the profile invisible line layer. Okay, so let's make our hidden lines visible again. Okay, so now we're going to go work on the front view. So world coordinate system, front. And we need to do a breakout area, and then we can insert our revolve view here. So I'm going to use a spline because this is a metal material. You want it to look like a squiggly line, not so much jagged because that would mean it's wood or a similar type material. And the more squiggles you put in it, the better actually. Looks more like it's hand drawn. Alright, so with those lines drawn, we're going to go through and we're going to trim all of them but one of the horizontal lines. The reason we're leaving that horizontal line is to help us align the view. Okay, so I'm going to go and trim off these tails. And our breakout view is pretty close for this one. Alright, so now we've got this view that we want to move so that it's in between and this one. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move this section over. We're going to move it from on the midpoint of the base, and we're going to move it to the midpoint of the line we left there. Okay, so now we want to pivot this in place so it's at the correct angle. So we're going to do a measure geometry, and we're going to measure the angle between the section and the line we have here. And it says we have a difference of 46 degrees. In my case, you might have a different angle. Don't know. So I'm going to rotate this view by 46 degrees. And it's asking what the base point is, so I want it to be the midpoint that we moved it on. And we're going to move it 46 degrees. So now the section view is roughly centered in our break, and it's centered in the breakout section. So let's finish the breakout section by trimming off the ends. And we want to get rid of the line in between. So that, in my mind, was a little easier than aligning it in the paper space. So as long as we align this view in the paper space, we're good. Now in the example, they also broke the center of this. So we're going to do it. So we're going to just repeat that same procedure on the breakout section, which is pretty easy here. We're going to go and we go to world coordinate system first, and then we're going to be looking at the top view. And then we're going to draw us a squiggly line using the spline tool. And I turn the object snaps and all the snaps off when I'm doing this part. So I'll just click a bunch of points. And then trim out what's in between. And it appears I forgot to move some hidden lines, so don't do that like I did. And we're going to need to basically move everything you see there, everything you see there, and everything you see here, and everything you see here is a hidden line. There we go. It's all right in the world now. Okay, so at this point you should have everything you need to do to go to your layout. So let's hit save, and let's go to the C size multi-view. Now I do think we need to adjust the viewports. This is a fairly long part. Yeah, we're gonna have to adjust the viewports because you're gonna need the ones on the left to be significantly larger. So pick on the outside frame, pick on one of the corners, and we're gonna move them over so that the top and front view are have more room in them. Okay, and so you're going to double click on this one. You're going to make sure it's a 2D wireframe, and that's showing a top view. And this one is a front view in 2D wireframe. And this is going to be an isometric, and it's going to be in conceptual. And in this view, you're going to do an isometric. So this is a southeast isometric, and then we're going to do a northwest isometric, so you'll have the opposite angle. Okay, so we're going to focus on these first two viewports here. We're going to do a zoom, and we're going to do extents, and then you're going to center try to center that as best you can in the view. And we'll work on the scale in a second here. Okay, here you go, zoom, extents. Okay, so you should have your section view showing up there. So we need to make our own scales. So let's go to scale, and we're going to go to custom. And we're going to add a 1:1 mm. So one paper unit is going to be 25.4. We're going to hit OK. And OK. So we've got that viewport highlighted. Let's see what 1:1 mm looks. That looks pretty good. 1:1 mm. And so now we're going to go through and set our line weight scales. Okay, we're going to type PSLT scale, and we're going to make sure the variable is at 1. Then we're going to type LTS, and we're going to put in 0.5 and see what that looks like. Our headlines look better. And then we can always type REA to make sure it looks better. And then we want to align our views. So we want to align these two views to each other. So I'm going to pick up on centers and midpoints. So we're going to put center and midpoint on our object snaps as default. And we're going to type MV setup. We're going to align vertically. And we're going to use the front view as our primary. We want to turn our midpoint and center object snaps on. I don't know why it does that. It turns it off. And we're going to use the center portion here that we centered our whole model around. And then we'll go to the midpoint of the boss. So that should give us good alignment. Okay, so they're aligned. Now we want to lock down these viewports before we mess them up. So I'll go to the other two viewports. Okay, I'm not going to show you guys how to do center lines. You know how to do center lines now. I'm not going to show you any more of that stuff. So we'll just set up our two isometric views. And we're going to go and turn the model layer unfrozen. And on both of these, wow, I got big. And we want this one to be in conceptual as well. Now let's try the 1 mm scale. That might be a little big. Let me back up there. I'm going to center the view, get it a little bit bigger. I'll try 1 mm. I think we're going to have to create another scale. That's looking a little big. Could expand the viewport a little bit. But if we're going to have two isometrics, I think we should have the sample views probably at half scale. Let's go over to our custom scales, and we're going to create a custom scale that we're going to call 1 to 2 mm, and it's going to be half a paper unit is 25.4. Okay, and in this viewport we're going to select that new scale we just made, and in this viewport we're going to do the same. And it looks pretty good. Alright, again, I'm not going to show you guys dimensioning lines, that kind of stuff. You guys should be getting pretty good at that by now. So the next step is to put your center lines on everything. Don't forget to lock your viewports once you have them scaled. Save early, save often. You'll retire early if you do that. And make sure you make a complete drawing. The assignment should have an example drawing in JPEG. They're not exactly perfect, but make sure you're following your checklist and observing all the ISO, the ISO and ASME checklists. Don't forget to change your fillet sizes, and this is a metric drawing, so you need to change it from inch to metric, so don't forget those things. And as always, I'm going to harp on you to leave some space here for the revision block. That's going to be something that when you go to an employer is going to be a flag that you're a newbie. Anyway, that's it, and I'll catch you on the next one.